Hey, this video is going to be about analyzers. I wanted to line up 4 of these, and that's enough space on screen that I have. So I wanted to just compare these and tell you why I use some of them and how. A lot of this and more expansively is included in the free course I have at mixingacademy.com. So go ahead and check it out if you want a more detailed story. But what I'm going to tell you now is that I use analyzers in this average kind of fashion. So each one of these is showing me an average signal value. That's not a slow or decayed kind of show where it's just being late to react or really slow to react to the peaks. No, this is an actual average value of the signal for each part of the frequency spectrum. Why that's important? Well, seeing the actual average value for each one of these parts of the spectrum, I can somewhat, and of course not always completely precisely, that's why you have to listen, and listening is most important, but a really nice tool to have is an analyzer. It's like building a house and saying, yeah, let's do another floor. This is vertical. That's not what you would do. You would actually use whatever lasers today to measure how vertical something is, or like digital sensors and stuff like that. So I think it's a really helpful thing to have an analyzer like this. And basically I set all of these up to the same setting, and that's going to be a 6-second average. I think that the Prism coming from TDR, which is really, really cool in my opinion, is somewhat the same setting, looks like it. It's a little bit slower, it seems to me, at this setting, but it's quite close to where the others are. The one I like the most of all of these is going to be span. I use span on a daily basis. I always have it present, and I always have it present in this setting. So usually it's the MS setting where I have the mid and the sides showed separately. That's the sum and difference. So when you add the left and the right channel together and divided by 2, that's the mid, and that's basically all the information that's mono, everything that's the same on both left and the right channel. And the other part, this lighter part of the spectrum, is showing me more reddish part, is showing me the sides. So that's showing me the stereo information. That's basically left minus right. So it's showing me what's the difference in between the left and the right channel. That's the stereo information. And as you can see, I can set that up as well in the Prism. On the M analyzer, I didn't bother, but that one is showing me the sum, and it's basically showing me the same kind of information. I have the same mid and side setting right here in the reflex spectrum analyzer, and why I chose all of these is because they are all free. So whichever one you like the most, use it. Why I used the reflex spectrum analyzer amongst all of these, and that's a company I mentioned in one of my earlier videos, you can check out the channel, is because they claim that how they are actually able to show you the low frequencies with precision, and being the low frequencies, that's not always possible, like always seeing them really precise in the frequency domain and in the time domain. So having both of those at the same time is just impossible. They're saying that they managed to get a different kind of formula which actually enables you to do so. I don't see that much of a difference in between the what this one is showing and the other ones are showing, and the song that's playing in the background is not really important. Hearing it, we're dealing with the visuals right now. I think that I don't see that much of an advantage. I have, just to be sure, smoothed this one out in time. So the average is 6 seconds, and I've smoothed this one out to 4 semitones. That's 1/3 of an octave. And I think that's the setting on each one of these. So let's go over some differences. I love span because it's highly customizable. Prism is as well, but what I can set in span is the top and the bottom. So I can set the high range to whatever value I think is going to be like the maximum, let's say -18. Nothing's almost ever going to go even touch that. And then the bottom can be whenever I please. So if I go really low, like you would say, I want the most resolution, I want to see everything. Well, you don't actually want to see everything, because in this fashion you don't see too much of a difference between the highs and the lows. So you don't see too much of a difference in the amplitude between something that's louder and something that's not that loud. If I actually reduce that resolution to see only from, let's say, 70 decibel minus 70 decibel, you can see much more of a difference in between the highs and the lows. And that difference is what, 6 dBs almost. That actually helps you. What I failed to mention here is that you can control that amplitude zoom in others, some others, but not as flexibly as in span. That same can also be viewed right here in Prism, which is much more customizable. And in Prism, I can actually see at the same time, which is what I like really about it, is that I can see everything I see in span, and I can also see the momentary. You see this line on top of everything. That's the momentary response. So that's a really fast peak response of all the frequencies. So if anything like a transient happens anywhere in the spectrum, I can see it on this analyzer because the others are not going to react so fast. Remember, it's a 6-second average for those. So they're just showing me the energy of the song. Now, I don't use that so often, but it's really nice to have. Let me tell you why. By looking at the average value, what we can see right here on the screen, if you look at the average value, you can see that, when compared to other songs of the same genre, you can see how the energy in certain parts of the spectrum is in your song. So you can compare if you have the same amount of hi-hats, you have the open hi-hat. Let's say you're dealing with techno or some kind of electronic music, and you have all of the elements that the other producer you're comparing to has, but your spectrum is wildly different than his, then you can see that your balance is kind of off. So you can try to, let's say, place an EQ on your master, try to correct it, and see if that's something that actually fits. That's something that can help you establish something by using your eyes and also your ears. So let's say you're working on your own song, and after a while you get used to what you're hearing. You can play a reference, and you can also look at the analyzer. The analyzer is immediately going to tell you that something is off. If you're just playing the whole song and you see that the balance is off, you immediately understand what's happening. So the process of identification is quite fast using that visual aid. I'm not saying trust the analyzer, not your ears. The ears are most important. It is sound we're dealing with. And if the analyzer was the only thing that matters, then AI could do mastering, could do mixing. But as we know now, it really can't. Yeah, sometimes it works and most of the times it doesn't. It doesn't understand the emotion of music, and I think that the emotion and the energy that the song is supposed to transfer to a human and make you feel something is the most important thing. So having this is just a visual tool to help you make a better decision, more informed decision. And if you have your ears and you have your eyes, that counts as, more than just having your ears. Sometimes your ears can fool you. Your brain is going to be tired and decode sound erroneously. You get used to a certain frequency, so certain resonance, and you don't hear it anymore. It's like when you get on an airplane, it's loud, and after a while it's not loud anymore. That's your brain keeping you protected. So kind of happens, the same when you're producing music and you're listening to something for a while. You get used to something that's not really supposed to be there. As I said, I'm really into span. I really like it the most, and it's more customizable than any of those. Prism, customizable as well, can show you more than just 4 things. M Analyzer 2, it's free. They're all free. There is a more complex version of M Analyzer. It's M Multi Analyzer that you can pay for and get. I really prefer these free ones. They really are excellent. Next time you're producing, think about it. And if you want to learn more in detail about analyzers and everything dealing with the spectrum and frequencies, go to my free course at mixingacademy.com. It's completely free thanks to levin.org, and I'll see you in the next video.